Okay, and we are now recording. Good morning again, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Happy Wednesday to each and every one of you. On behalf of our boss, Mr. Steve Clare, our program manager, Mrs. Sophia Sweeney, our team, Ms. Dottie Heffelfinger, Ms. Kristen Clark, Mr. Chris Fowler, and Mr. John Crabtree. I am Russell Gray, and we are excited to have each and every one of you here with us, and we're going to give you a vendor information session today to talk to you a little bit about the Army CA program and why you should join us. If you haven't already done so, please make sure you've muted your microphones. And with that, we will begin the presentation. I will also ask during this presentation if you have questions, please type them in the chat box and we'll answer those. And then we'll also take all of those questions and answers at the end, and we will send that with the video along with the vendor invite that I'm going to send you all out again if you're interested in participating. So, again, put those questions in the chat box over there, and we're going to change things up just a little bit today. I'll go to my next slide here. Our program manager is actually going to speak to each and every one of you at the end today. So we're going to swap that around just a little bit. But the rest of the show, you can see there, we're going to have some information on the who, what, when, where, why, and hows for you for being a part of the Army CA program. And then we're going to get you ready, set, and get you ignited to join with us. So, with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. So, who are you serving? The Army Credentialing Assistance Program is designed to help our U.S. Army active guard reserve members. That includes our enlisted, our warrant officers, and our officers with obtaining industry recognized credentials and licensures. So, what does that mean for them obtaining those credentials and licensures? Well, we all know at the end of the day, we all eventually take our uniforms off and we will have to rejoin the civilian sector. But also, while these military members are serving in the jobs that they do, we want them to learn skill sets that help them think outside the box, things that their civilian counterparts are learning while doing the jobs. Because eventually, these service members will return to the civilian sector and will be a critical asset to our American industrial professionalism. So, you're helping them fill that gap right now and earn those certifications and licensures to be not only a benefit to the Army while they're still serving, but also to our American society and to what we do abroad. So what they can obtain from you. We'll put it out there to you right now. We are not the credentialing experts by any means at all. Matter of fact, there are over 1,500 certifications and licensures that the Army Cool program lists on the site. Now, I will tell you now, there is a difference between Army Cool and Army CA. When a soldier goes in, and anyone can go in on the Army Cool site, the Army Cool site is a repository for those over 1,500 credentials and licensures, those certifications and licensures. So when a soldier goes in, or if a retiree wants to go in, or even our civilian partners go in, they look at these certifications, they look at the requirements for the certifications, and they look and see if this is a good fit for them. Now, if they are still active Army, Guard, Reserve, members, they can go in and then go to the Army Credentialing Assistance Program, which will assist them in paying for their certifications and licensures because they receive a annual allowance each fiscal year that allows them to pursue both their TA and CA requirements. Also, with you being the industry experts, you help fill that 20% gap between what our soldiers are being taught in their military institutions versus what our civilian industry is requiring them to know to be able to execute these jobs on the outside. So, you providing these trainings and providing the examinations for them when these soldiers do get out of the military and they have on their resumes that they completed the PMP or the airframe and power plant license. Our civilian industry partners understand what these things are, and it helps make that transition a little easier for service members when they're leaving. So, when are soldiers eligible to use your services? The Army CA program is a voluntary program and it's conducted off duty for all soldiers. And again, you see that's our active duty, Air National Guard, Reserve, all ranks enlisted NCOs, officers, and warrant officers as well. As long as they have funding remaining left in their annual fiscal year cap, and their fiscal year cap provides them with $4,000 that they can utilize for both their tuition assistance or their credentialing assistance, as long as they have money left in their cap, they can participate in the CA program. Again, some of you who may have just joined us, thanks again for joining. If you have any questions or anything, please feel free to type them out in the chat box and we will answer those and then take all the questions and answers at the end, put them in a document, and include them in the email that goes out to everyone. So, why we need you? Again, you are the experts in the field that you train and provide licensures and certifications in. You are the go-to representatives for the industry to say, yes, this person is trained enough or trained to the level required for them to sit for that certification. Also, you provide civilian application of skills learned while on active duty. So, say a service member, and it'll show you here on the next slide what I mean by this, but say a service member deploys to a forward operating base and they have skill sets that they've learned while they've gone through and gotten their civilian industry certifications and licensures. Those extra skill sets, that extra 20% that they've garnered on top of what they've already learned in the military, could not only save money and save tax dollars downrange, but could also save lives by different methods that they've learned from being able to think outside the box. And again, that speaking outside of the box, we're going to take our military service members, we're going to help them get certifications and licensures. We're going to send them down range so that they can work with our counterparts around the world and helping solve complex issues. And then eventually, those highly skilled individuals are going to return to the civilian workforce as highly skilled and disciplined individuals to help our country balance itself and make sure it's ready for the efforts and issues that may confront us in the future. So you will provide an impact by helping do that. So where do you get started? Ready, set, ignite. Here's where we kick it off with you. If you've been in business for at least 2 years and you have training that or certifications that relate to certifications that are listed on the Army Cool site, we want you to come and join us. We want you to be a part of right now the over 400 vendors that we already have in the system that are offering certifications and licensures and training for those certifications for our soldiers. We want each and every one of you to offer what you have as your industry standards, as other locations that our soldiers can go and obtain these certifications and licensures. And we want you to be able to put your mark on history by helping our service members obtain those licenses and become proficient at what they do, become assets to the civilian sector, and helping out on day one. Now, again, this is a quick overview of the Army CA program. And what I'm going to do here is I'll go to the next slide and I'll open it up to questions if we have anyone in questions. But before I do that, I want to give it to our program manager, Mrs. Sweeney, so she can jump in and speak with you guys just a little bit before we open it up for questions. Mrs. Sweeney, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Russell. And thanks everyone for attending today. Really appreciate it. A lot of you have been on the pending list for a while, so we kind of wanted to reach out just to make sure you all could, what issues you might have. So that's the key thing. If you have had issues, would definitely like to hear what your issues are so we can try to get, moving through that to get you onboarded to become a vendor of choice for the soldiers. Just a few things I want to hit on just so you understand the process. Once you do get onboarded into the system as a CA vendor, We do fund courses and exams prior to the start date. Um, and oh, actually, somebody just asked a question that kind of triggered me to remember that if you were previously a vendor when we did this limited user test back in 2019, 2020, and we were doing it outside of Army Ignited, you still have to go back through the process of entering all of your information in Army Ignited and so forth. So that's been one of the biggest questions we received. With some previous vendors who thought they were still in the system or still part of the CA program. But if you don't have your application in the system, unfortunately, we can't move forward with offering your training. Like I said, we do fund prior to the start date. That is different than any tuition assistance, if there's any education institutions on here. We do not fund the same way we would with tuition assistance. We do fund prior to any start date. You do have a management queue that you can see all of the soldiers we process and move over to finance for payment. You will automatically see who they are. And then also, another key thing is, in case there's other services that do their own credentialing programs, but the Army, our credentialing assistance program, soldiers do not have to seek credentials that are aligned to their MOS. They can pursue any credential that's listed in Army Cool. And let me see, there's a couple of questions in the queue. And I know that Russell's going to go over the how to figure out whether your training will help lead to a credential that is listed in Army Cool. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and answer that question, Russell, and then I'll answer the other ones down below. So the question, Russell, was how do we find out if our training is linked to a training link to an approved certification on the Army Cool site?
Sorry, Sophia, I was talking to my mute button. So actually, what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to pull up the Army Cool website so that you can see that. I'm pulling that up for you right now. Can everybody see that on my screen?
I can see it.
Okay, so this is the Army Cool website. Now, like Sophia said, every branch has a cool program, but everybody does their cool program just a little bit differently. On the Army side, cool is a repository just for the certifications for soldiers to go in. And again, our industry partners, retirees, anyone can access this site as it is a public site. You can go in and find credentials that you're interested in. So let's say I'm a soldier who wants to, or I'm a vendor who wants to know if the project management professional happens to be listed on Army Cool. So I'd go into the full credential search that I clicked on, and you can see here the over 1,500 certifications that we already have in the system. And I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to type in PMP and hit search. And you can see here the project management professional does pop up. And you see it has the red hot chili pepper in the stem. That means that the red hot chili pepper, it aligns with ODET. If any of you are familiar with it from the Department of Labor, this tells that jobs that are in demand right now and that are going to be hot over at least the next 10 years or foreseeable future. And then also STEM program for those science, technology, engineering, and mathematics certifications. So this is one that hits both of those. So you would select the certification, and it's going to bring you to a snapshot of the certification. So you can look here and you can look and see what type of related occupations it might list to. And again, like Sophia said, on the Army CA side of things, soldiers can select from any of the certifications that are out there for them. So that's the beautiful thing about the Army CA program. Again, they have to meet the eligibility for that certification, but it does give them the opportunity to go out there and look for it. And then you have a summary of the certification requirements. So again, it renews every 3 years. The experience that's required to be able to sit for it, the eligibility, the exam requirements, exam administration, and the contact information for the credentialing body itself, which is PMI. Again, eligibility, it breaks down the education requirements for that certification, what's required there, the different options that an individual can go through. Other requirements, you see here, this one, the candidate must agree to uphold the PMI's code of ethics. So that's another requirement there. Now, the exam itself. So when you're looking at your training and what you offer, you say, okay, well, we want to offer the PMP, where we want to generate a program that offers the PMP, or we already have a program that offers the PMP, and we want to apply that to the Army CA program. So you can see here how 42% of the exam goes over these items dealing with people relations, 50% is processes, and then 8% is the business environment. So if your training aligns to what's required for that individual to be able to sit for that PMP, then the PMP may be something that you want to offer. The exam preparation, again, it gives you information for best resources like the PMBOK, the PMI recertification requirements, the general reference information. Then, of course, testing information. It tells you that the individuals can test through places like Pearson VUE as the testing provider. Some of you may already be linked to Pearson VUE as a testing provider for you, as a third party provider. So this is just information that you can reach out and you can look at and say, okay, I think the certification that we offer does align with this credential. So this is what we're going to put on our application. Keynote, if the certification you were looking for, say you go back here and you go to the search, you go to that full credential search, and you type in that certification and that certification doesn't pull up here, that means it is not an approved certification on Army CA. So that means that you cannot use it to create a training. So you can say, well, we think our training adds or links to this. But if it's not on the Army CA side and it does not fully meet it and does not fully link to that credential, don't put it on your application as a link, because we will review it and it will get rejected back to you and asked to correct.
Hey, Russell,
So, yes, ma'am.
real quick, I just want to just say real quick on that search bar, sometimes less is more. So you might not want to spell out the entire word, maybe just like a keyword. So for the accredited financial counselor, if you just type in financial, then all of the credentials that have the word financial will pull up. It's just that sometimes when people put too much in there, it might not appear. So you don't want to, you know, try to, you're looking for something and it doesn't pull up, but you might have added an extra space and you miss out on that opportunity. So less is more. Thank you.
Absolutely. So again, that's how you can find out information on the Army Cool site. Another great resource for you on the Army Cool site is if you come down and you click on where it says credential assistance, you can see here that we have information. The 5 most requested credentials on the Army Cool are listed below, and it breaks those down. This updates every month, and it will give you an update to the approved vendor list. You can see here this one's as of 1 March, and for the credentials added and removed. So again, this is a great resource for you to go out and look at and said, okay, I want to add this credential. Let me check the approved vendor list to make sure that I'm on there, or let me check the credentials added and removed list to see if the credential I'm trying to add, the reason why it's not pulling up, maybe it was taken off. So this is a great resource for you to check as well. And then it also gives the brochures for if you have a soldier that says, hey, I'm thinking about using the Army CA program, not really sure about how to get everything done with it. You say, well, have you gone out to the Army Cool site? Because they have a Soldier CA vendor brochure, and we also have one there for the vendors if you're interested in participating. So all of this great information is right there for you, for free access for each and every one of you to be able to utilize. Do we have any other questions that came in through the box, Sophia?
I've been asking or answering the questions. So far, so good. I did post in there about the actual CA webpage. So this page is specific to credentialing assistance. And just like I had talked to Anthony and Michael, the vendor CA process guide is right there on the related links for anyone to download. That is the first step in how you would, no, higher, yep. That's how you would start the process, by creating your account, okay, in Army Ignited. Once you create that account, from there, the steps are in this vendor guide so that you can start going into this program. Okay.
All right. So, do we have any other questions that are jumping out there that we may not have answered yet?
And please feel free to raise your hand if you'd like to ask the question. A lot of what we're getting so far is just, how do we start this process? Oh, we got a hand that's raised. I'm not sure who was first, but Mike.
Hi, good morning. Just a quick question about the process. Once everything is approved and ready to go, when you're ready to place the order with the vendor, are you able to use the vendor's website to do that? Or does that have to be a phone number that you talk to a person? Because everything we do for training and certification is through our website, because all the automation and setup and everything is tied to that online portal. Is the program able to use a vendor's website to actually place the order?
Okay, so soldiers are going to contact vendors, right, to
Yes.
get a quote.
Yes.
They have to be able to get a quote from the vendor that's kind of that's actually kind of customized to that soldier. So if you offer, and again, just throwing one credential there, if you offer PMP, right, a soldier is going to be calling to ask how they can get a quote for the PMP course. They're going to also ask what's the start and end dates, because they have to know that kind of information.
Yes.
Is that available there? Is it like a chat?
They would be able to go to our website and see all the course start dates, all that kind of stuff. Okay. So they would be able to get all of that information. Mm-hmm. And then once their request is approved by you all, are you able to then, the process just has a statement that says, that the program will then contact the vendor for payment. Are you able to use our website to do that, or does that have to be a phone process?
Well, it's a possibility that the finance team can make the payment online, but there is some there might be some restrictions. Just depends on how that is done. So usually when you have, if you cannot do this on the phone, send me an email, right? And I'll actually post this email here shortly, actually to the CA email box. And then I will forward it to finance to see if whatever your process is, if that is something that they could work with. If they say they can't, then unfortunately we won't be able to do that. For the most part, they do make some payments online. It's just very specific on how they can do it.
Okay, because that's really the only way we can take a credit card is through that system. So
yeah, I that's probably going to be okay, but I don't want to answer for finance because they, it is their system, their sure. process. Can't answer specifically on that. But as far as the soldier getting a quote, how do they get that from you?
Well, normally what would happen is they would go to our website and pull down the information for the particular course that they're looking at, because it's all there. Mm-hmm. If we have to generate a specific quote with a name and all of that, we would probably have to send that to our Army team and manually intervene there to do that. We're not quite sure how we would accomplish that, because I saw in the process it requires the person's name, etc. Now they could create that. If it's just an email that they have to provide to you, they could just put their name and information and just copy the information from our website for that course. But if that has to come from us as a official quote, then we would have to have a person intervene, most likely from our Army team, to create that document and give it to the soldier, which we can certainly do. We weren't quite sure if it had to be an official quote or not.
Right. So where are you from, Mike? What organization?
I work for Elasticsearch, which the Army uses across its systems, both business and tactical.
Okay. Awesome. Well, send me the email and I will we'll go from there on that one.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And sometimes people want to know why we ask for a customized quote. And the reason is that we have a lot of soldiers that will, sign up for something, but then certain vendors require you to be registered or, you must have in some way, shape, or form contacted the vendor. And so when we make the payment or try to make the payment, what happens is they'll get rejected because they were not previously registered. So this is our way of catching that. Like, hey, the soldier is supposed to contact a vendor to verify and schedule, register for their seat, that kind of stuff in advance.
Yeah, see, that's where we're having a little bit of the issue, because until you go to our website and select the course, the specific dates you want, and make the payment, you're not registered for the course.
Right.
We don't hold slots until the payment is made. So that's where we're having a little bit of the quandary on how to do this, because the soldier wouldn't be able to come and they can get the quote, they can get all the information, but they wouldn't be able to hold the seat at that point until they got approved by you and the finance team actually registered them by making the payment.
There's any way to hold their seat, like kind of just once we process the case and we move it to the finance queue, you all see the soldiers that are waiting for payment, right? Not that they're not approved until finance actually makes that payment, but you all would actually see them and know that, okay, this is legit. They're going to eventually be funded. They can't start the program, but at least, we that's what we try to avoid is not, getting all, because we have up until the day of the start date to make the payment. We try to get ahead of the game, but then we've got all these issues, CRs and so forth, that sometimes pushes up to the start date before it can be funded. And we would hate for a soldier to lose a seat because, we couldn't fund it until the day of. That was kind of the reasoning behind all that.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'll talk to our training team. We typically aren't able to hold seats for individuals. We can do them for if we're filling the entire class of 20 people or whatever it is,
right.
we can hold that class, but I don't know if we would be able to hold for an individual. I'll have to figure that out on our side. Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate it very much.
No problem. Henrietta?
Yes, good morning. This is Henrietta Robinson from Get Certified America. And my question is, we started the credentialing process back in December 2021. And one of our delays of doing the final submission is that we offer a lot of certification-based training classes, and everything we do is directly in line with the soldiers being able to actually sit to take a certification exam. And we also administer the certification exam. So we're kind of a one-stop shop, straight from the start all the way to the finish for the soldiers. But my question is, being that we have a lot of offerings, our delay was that we do have a lot of offerings, and I initially thought perhaps we could do a partial list and then just submit that for approval. But would you prefer that we put everything in one shot, submit it for approval, or what would your recommendation be?
So I guess I'll answer that. it's fine if you notice that a soldier, like you're getting a lot of interest on a specific credential, and that's the one that you want to kind of get out there as soon as possible. You can absolutely submit just a few credentials and then add to it afterwards. You would just have to notify our team and let us know that, hey, we want to add more courses. And then at that point, it's too easy. You would just go in and add more courses, and we'd go from there.
Okay, all right, excellent. And then my final question, we have been working with military for many years and as the certification testing company. And with some of the credentials, and I actually see the potential answer on the left panel of your website, the website that's up. I just haven't had a chance to look at it yet. But in some cases, there are proctor fees, there are additional fees, out of pocket costs associated with these programs. And what we find as the certification testing organization is that there's a bit of a disconnect, that the soldiers are unaware that there were additional costs associated. Things like that. I mean, are these things that we should just bundle into our offerings, and that way everything is covered when we submit that information? There would be no out of pocket costs, or should I just go under the potential out of pocket costs and see what things are allowed and what things aren't?
So my question to you is, are any of these like eligibility type fees? You got to pay for an application to determine whether you're eligible to take something before you would allow them to take it?
No, not at all.
Okay.
After the soldiers go through the training process and they schedule their appointments to physically sit and challenge the certification exam, if they're going, depending on if it's a Certiport certification or a
Mhm.
Pearson VUE certification, there
Mhm.
could be a proctor fee. All testing centers reserve the right to charge a proctor fee, and that is where the disconnect has taken place. That we find that, and depending on the exam, that is not a regulated fee, which makes it a little, that makes it a little gray there, being that a soldier could contact one agency and they say, okay, it costs $50 for you to sit for this exam. Whereas if they contact a different agency, it could be $25. So you can see that there's a bit of quite a spread there between what is being charged in
Mhm.
the open market for someone to sit for the same certification exam. So
Well,
that was my
yeah.
question.
I wouldn't recommend adding something like that where the price varies depending on where they're going to sit. But what I would recommend is if it's something like that where they know they're going to be charged, you can add all of the fees, add the exam, and then Russell, do you have the slides to show how they can add the actual, how they can list it? But in certain instances like this, where the fee is going to be changing, the soldier can actually do a custom quote, right? So that they can add just the exam. Now they know what the actual fee is to sit, so they will add the sitting fee during with this custom request, and then at that point we can fund it that way. If it is something that is like consistent across the board, you're going to get all these fees. You're going to have to add these fees. Then you can add it in your application
Okay.
as a fee. Okay,
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That answered my question. Thank you so much.
no problem.
Hey, Sophia, can you see the example application I just put up?
Yep, I can see it. Go ahead.
Okay, so when a soldier goes in, or this is what they're going to see on your application, or when you're putting your application in. Um, Say you were putting in for the commercial pilot, okay? You're going to add that credential in there, and then where it says add new training name information, you would put your information there. If it's a training type or exam, you put that there. Now, on the right side of the screen, what Sophia was talking about is all of your fees, everything that you have would be put on the top line, as you see right here. Now, if it's something that you do not offer, uh, say it's books that they'd have to get from Amazon or something like that, then you would list it as no, put the name of it, the information for it, or the number of the ISBN, the cost and the quantity. Now, if it's something that, let me go down here because I know I have one. If it's something that you do offer, say you're adding an exam voucher right here. Yes, the total cost of everything is right there, and then you're going to put the exam voucher down here. Yes, provided by you, and the cost is zero. The only item that cannot be bundled in training with a cost if it isn't provided by you is an exam voucher. So if you do not offer the exam, just don't put it in your application. But if you do offer a voucher for the exam, again, the total cost would go up here in the top line, and
Mhm.
then on the line below it, you would put the item that you're listing below, i.e., the exam voucher, the books, the study material, the practice test, etc. And you would list that as $0.00.
Okay, so just to be clear, I want to make sure that I heard that correctly because we do offer the vouchers as well. So we would include the voucher, but we don't bundle the voucher.
You can bundle the voucher in. As you see
Mm.
on this one on the left-hand side with the circle around it, the total cost. So this would be for the training, this would be for the voucher, any books, anything like that. All of your costs, everything together would be on that top line. And then each item listed below it. Let me see if I've got a better example on here. I don't on this one, but each item listed below it is going to be listed as yes, provided by you, and then the cost will be zero. However, if it's something you do not offer, like on the right-hand side here, say it's a book that they have to go to Amazon and get,
Mhm.
then again, you would put your total price up here at the top. And if you do not offer that item, you'd list it as no, how they can get it. And on the new application, it actually has a URL link under each one. So you
Okay.
could put the URL link that they could go to look for it and then the cost. The only thing that we cannot add over here with the cost associated with it is the exam. So the exam would have to be listed as yes provided, and the cost is $0.00.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yes, ma'am. Does anyone else have any other questions for us?
I see a hand up from Miss Karen.
Hi, I have a question. It's sort of what the last person was speaking about. On this ad training screen, we have a lot of things that we offer for continuing education um, that are not necessarily things that you have to purchase in order to get the credential that we offer. So when I'm adding all of these additional, first of all, do I have to add all of these different offerings? We have a lot of um, webinar information and testing, like quizzes that offer continuing education. So if I wanted to put those on, I would have, since we offer them, I would have to add those as a zero cost, even though there is a cost involved, but would I add each individual item as a zero cost, but include that total in the top bundle,
Yes, ma'am,
e-
that's correct.
even
Or
though it's not necessary that you have to purchase all of those.
so when a soldier goes out and they're looking for what you offer, the soldier will be able to look at your application and say, okay, well, I need the training, I need this book, I need the exam voucher, but I know I don't need this. So they'll be able to pick and choose what they need. However, if it's not listed on your application, when they submit their CA request, if we look up and it's not on the application and we can't verify it, then the finance team is going to reject it back because they can't make a payment for something that doesn't match on the application. So if you have, let's say you are, again, we'll go back to the PMP, um, and you say, okay, well, we offer training for the PMP, but we also offer where the member can come in and get these CEUs later for if they want to use it. Then you could list those together as continuing training or continuing CEU training instead of breaking down each and every individual item. Now, if it's something separate, say it's CEU training or it's the recertification fee or items like that, definitely make sure you break those out. Does that help?
Well, it does, but where do I add the cost? I have to add the cost of each one of those items into my top bundle cost and have everything else as zero. Because that was the problem I was having when I was entering my information originally. That if I put a cost in my additional training, it wouldn't allow me to move on.
So here's what I would do for you. Here's what I would recommend. If you have additional training that the members could pursue, list that outside of the bundle separately. List that as its own separate item. That way you can put the costs on there. That way the soldier can go back and say, okay, I've already completed this training. No, I need these additional CEUs. Well, I know that this company offers these CEUs, and now I can go pick that ad hoc. Does that make sense? Instead of listing it in your bundle, list it as a separate line item.
Okay, I can try that. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Do you have any other questions out there? I know Sophia is attacking the box. Let's see. I do have one here. I see your application in the system, so it may not. Oh, wait. Sophia sent that.
Yes, so far, no other questions. Did you want to let them know about the other requirement for making sure they have the stats or the authorization?
Yes, thank you. So again, this is a new program. Army CA has been functional since 2020. So with that, new processes are coming down the line, new policies are being directed down, and so the program is evolving. And with that, one of the requirements that we are seeing that we're posting out to our vendors now is that you have either proof that you're associated with a credentialing body as an affiliated provider, or you have statistics showing that you've provided exam results. You have exam results with pass fail percentage. So, what I mean by with the credentialing body is, let's say again, you're going after that PMP, and that's provided by PMI as a credentialing body. Then you have a letter or something showing that you are an affiliated vendor to provide the PMP exam from PMI, or you would have the say, okay, well, we've offered 50 exams and they don't have to be all from soldiers when you provide these stats, because this will actually be on part 3 of your application. When you go through it, it'll ask you to upload this. But you say, okay, we've had 50 students come through and take the PMP, and out of that 50, we know that 60% of those have passed the PMP exam that have come through and taken that with us. Provide those statistics to us, but we will need that information. We are actually going through with all of our current approved vendors right now and getting that information for them. So if you can provide that information ahead of time as you're submitting your application or as you're getting started, that will help out greatly. If you have the letter, or you have documentation that shows that you're an affiliated provider, you can send that directly to us. We can save it on your behalf in our folder that we're keeping for all the vendors. That way you'll already be up to date on that. But definitely, if you've got those pass fail statistics that you can put into your application, and it doesn't have to be separate documents, you can put it all on one Word document or one Excel document. Say, this is the credential name, this is the credentialing body, this is the number of individuals that have taken it, and this is the pass percentage for it. We will need that information as we continue to grow this program. Thank you for reminding me about that, Sophia.
No problem. And Mike has his hand up.
Hi, Mike. He's good.
Guess he put his hand down. Okay.
Hi, sorry, I neglected to put it down after the last question. Sorry about that.
We thought you just had your hands up giving us props. Whoop, whoop. No worries. I
Thank you.
did see we just had two come in, one from Miss Judy Clapp and one from Miss Christine Melling. I've created my login.gov and did the two-step authentication, but I'm not able to log into Army Ignited. Okay. So you've already gone in and done your login.gov. You've gotten your approval there with your login.gov account and everything, and you've done the authentication, but you're not able to log into the Army Ignited portal. Is that correct?
Correct.
What's it telling you on the screen when you're trying to log in?
I have a get started link,
Okay.
and I've read and consented to the IS user agreement,
Okay.
and this time it's working. Just had to ask the question.
We just had to put the good mojo out there in the air for you.
The magic of technology. Thank you.
No worries. Ms. Christine said, how often do you hold these trainings? Can we attend future ones with further questions? Or is it this one-time invitation? No, ma'am, we will offer, like Ms. Sweeney said, we will offer these monthly for potential vendors, as well as we do training for the vendors that are already in the system, the approved vendors. So this will be offered monthly to all of our vendors. So if you have further questions in the future, if you're already an approved vendor at that time, you can definitely jump on any of those. Or if you have questions that you just need to ask without it being on a vendor information session, you can send it directly to us and we can get that answered for you at any time. You don't have to wait for the training sessions for those.
Right, and just so you know, there are two separate types of vendor sessions, right? One is an info session for new vendors, and then once you do become a vendor, there is another session that you can attend that is, basically we don't start all over from the beginning, that the part that you've already done, we just start answering and giving you updates of what's going on during that time frame.
And there's a lot of things that happen between each month. Ms. Sweeney can tell you, between one month to the next, we have all different types of updates that occur, things that are going on. I know many of you may be aware of the continuing resolution. We're going through that right now. That's a constant thing that we're updating about. So there's new information that's out there all the time. We have any other questions out there from the field with us this morning?
Well, it doesn't appear anyone else wants to ask a question. Please feel free to jump on. You can just open your mic.
And again, what we will do is we will take all the questions, we'll put those on a Word document with the answers. We will send those out to you, as well as a copy of the video from this morning. We'll send that out to everybody, and I'm going to send you all out the invite again. So you will have that. You'll have the steps. Each and every one of you that we're talking to right now already has an account built in Army Ignited. We've already created a vendor account for you, so that step is already done. If you're interested in participating with us, you'll follow the steps on the invitation that we send you. And we hope that each and every one of you will become a vendor and participant of the Army CA program, the Army CA family, and helping ultimately our soldiers become certified in more than 1,500 certifications that we have listed. And that list is constantly growing every month. So thank each and every one of you for.
We have one
Oh,
question.
sorry.
We got a hand up.
Oh,
in your
I'm
head.
sorry.
Okay,
Go
go ahead.
Who do we have here? This Henrietta?
Henrietta.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. So just one quick question. So as far as it goes, if a soldier does not pass a certification exam the first time around, it is my understanding that we are only able to issue them a single take voucher. We generally do not have a follow through in terms of what are the next steps for them in terms of being approved for additional vouchers to resit for the same exam?
So we do have where many vendors offer the soldier a free test retake, and that's included in their bundle. We will tell you that Army CA can only fund it one time. Um, if the soldier fails and they're recouped, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Sophia, if a soldier fails and they're recouped and they pay that recoupment, then they can go back and try it again at that time.
Right, they can ask again for the same credential once they select their repayment plan. But yes, if they fail it, they will be recouped.
Understood. Thank you for that information.
You're
No
very
problem.
welcome. Thank you for the question.
So another thing to add about the, you know, the one, I'm not sure if we even mentioned it about the, you will have to upload the certificates of completion upon completion of that soldier's exam or course, right? So if they took this exam and you received the results, you will have to upload a certificate of completion to show that they either failed or passed the exam.
And you'll be able to see that in your credential management tab on your profile. That's a great new tool that was recently added to each and every one of your profiles. When you come in, you can, like Sophia said, once it's been sent to the finance team, you can begin to track those individuals from there, and you can see them in your credential management queue. And then once they've completed, their results have to be uploaded within 10 days after completion. Miss Judy, I see your hand up.
You just answered my question.
Okay, no problem. Anyone else out there have any other questions? Boss, anything you want to throw in before we conclude?
No, great job, Russell. Great job, Sophia. Thank you for all the questions and the participation. This is great. As mentioned, you know, this is a emerging program. It's a fairly new program in the Army and offers some great benefits to soldiers in their career life cycles and the Soldier for Life progression. So thank every one of you for joining us, and we hope you join us again and begin your application process and become part of the Army Ignited Credentialing Assistance Program. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. And again, we apologize each and every one of you for the link issues this morning. We sometimes technology gets the best of us, but hey, we fight through and we get through it. So thank all of you that were able to get on, and those that were not able to get on. Thank you for your participation, and we hope to see each and every one of you as a part of the program as we send out this video to each and every one of you. So at this time, I'm going to stop the recording.